Hi there, welcome. Come on into my studio workshop. My name is Chris and I'm really glad that you're here with me today. You are meeting me as I begin my YouTube adventure and I appreciate that. So what I expect that you'll see is a lot of terrible stuff at the beginning and hopefully improvement as we go along the way. For instance, I know that the video that you'll see today is sometimes wiggly, sometimes crooked, sometimes missing pieces. This is what I've discovered after my first foray into making a video while I was creating. And I think that's okay. I decided I have to start. Otherwise, I'm never going to do it. If I'm waiting to get to perfection, I will never start. So here is my offering, and I do art because it's enjoyable. It makes me happy. I love the colors and the materials and the textures and the tools, and I just do it out of love. Sometimes things turn out beautifully. Sometimes things get filed away and never looked at again. Sometimes, as in today, things actually turned out kind of silly, but that's okay too. So I welcome you along this journey, and I'm excited to not only keep learning about art, but also learning about sharing art on YouTube. So here we go. Hello. What I am thinking about sharing today is a little process. We're going to start from the prints that I'm going to make, and then we're going to move it all the way into the location it will live in my art journal. So, something you need to know about me is I'm a teacher. I'm a Spanish teacher, and I have a problem with making the wrong number of copies, apparently. So as I was getting ready for the winter break, I grabbed all of the old copies, and this time I didn't care whether or not they had printing on both sides. I thought, I'm gonna figure out a way to use these. This happens to be one that didn't have something on both sides, and this is just a clean up copy. So what I have done is I took a few of these double-sided copies that I wasn't able to use in class, and I just put some more or less opaque paints on them to give myself a background. And that is where I'm going to be starting my project today. So I'm going to start with these papers, and we're going to add to them. And then my plan for them is to add them to my board book art journal. So you can tell I've done my cover, I've done a few layouts, and these aren't all the same thing that I'm doing today, but I just start by putting some things down. There's usually not a lot of rhyme or reason. The parchment paper is to keep them from sticking together, and we are going to be working on making a layout on this spread. One of the issues that I have when I work in these larger board books is that the prints that I usually make, this covers about 3/4 of the background. And so I thought ahead for a change, and I made two in the same colorway so that I can have a continuous background on the book. So that's going to go down as my base, and then I will be adding pieces to that. Okay, so I get a little metallic in. I'm going to add this Amsterdam Standard Series bronze. Try to be a little more measured about how much paint I... If you notice a shift there, that would be because I just knocked my phone off my little makeshift stand. Looks like I could have waited for that white to dry a little bit longer, but I don't need it to be anything. It can be grungy. I'm fine with that. roll out my bronze, and now I'm going to put on some shapes very closely inspired by Art Whisperer 88. And I just love this sort of mid-century modern vibe that these shapes gave. So I looked at his and then I looked away and then I drew my own and cut them out as stencils on my acrylic, on my Cricut. Whoop. All right, so I'm pulling up the print with a sheet of deli paper because I want some see-through portions, and then this should also leave a ghost that I can take another print and get that bronzy color and some of the white that was on there as well. So again, waiting for this to dry. This time I might actually let it dry completely. And I'm a cheater, and so I use my 100-year-old heat gun. This is one of those times that a creator says, I cannot guarantee that this will work. Please don't wreck your own gel plate. And I use it every single time I gel print, and I have never had any trouble. I just keep it a distance and I keep it moving, and that usually does the trick for me. Let's do our deli paper reveal. Not going to be very impressive on camera because it is so light, but that will be very fun on top of the darker background sheets that I have made. All right, then I'm going to pull up my masks. Again, leaving behind something kind of mild. The white mixing in with the bronze. And because I have a brilliant blue, a cornflower purple blue, and a grayish green on my background, I think I'm going to go with green. Light green permanent is what I'm going to use to pick this up with. Again, try to be a little more moderate in the amount of paint I put down. This paint says that it is opaque. And when you put it on this fin, it seems like it has lied. I could put it on darker, but I'm actually fine with this slightly more transparent look because I'm going to pick it up again with deli paper. And I will let that dry. While I was waiting for that to dry, I remembered I said I was going to do black and white. I will do black and white. I don't know, the green, it just happened to me. So when I pulled this up, there you go, I cleaned off the plate pretty well. It gives a pretty transparent look. It's mostly white with a little bit of the bronze and lots of the crackle. And I actually like that crackle look. I like that texture. But that piece is going to stay nearby because I really am coming back in with the black. So I'm going to put some black and roll that out. You might notice I switched sprayers because I have one that I guess I've been using with a little darker paint and one that I've been using with a little lighter paint. So I'm just going to keep that going. Again, to the side, I'm rolling these off on a magazine that I got and don't very often look at. I'm going to use some of the same shapes and I'm going to use some additional ones. And now I am taking the same print and I just want to make sure I don't have the exact same masks in the same places. And I definitely won't. So this will give me a little bit of black added to that white and bronze covering, and theoretically will obscure some of the green that I didn't really even mean to use. And because I can see through it, I'm going around the edges of my masks to get a little crisper of a pickup. I don't always do that. I don't always need that. All right, there we go. And voila, now I have my black and my white and a little bonus green. I actually like the way that turned out quite a bit. And now underneath I should have a black ghost, not a shadow. And I think I'm just going to pick that straight up so that I have black and transparent. Now I'm fully aware that that's not going to pick up perfectly because I didn't add any additional wet medium to it, and I'm okay with that. So I'll just let it sit for a little longer. That feels nice and dry, so I'm going to take it up. Oh, it's picking up actually more than I thought it would. It must have been a little damper than I expected. Okay, so that one will be a nice piece just to add some black in. All right, I think I have enough pieces to move to my board book. Now, I'm not a fine artist, so I don't worry about having great brushes. These are brushes that I get from Michael's. Sometimes I get the ones that have the white bristles, sometimes I get the ones that have the gold bristles. It doesn't really make any difference to me. But what I decided to do here is to use a little of this Nova color. Again, I think it's called Phthalo Blue Red Tone. And I want to add just some of the solid color here at the bottom to strengthen that up. Don't know why. Maybe it's because of those orange dots, those salmon dots that shone through from the paper behind. And then I'm going to take whatever is left over of that Nova color, and I'm going to add a little bit of black to it because the Mars black from Liquitex Basics will overwhelm any color and do so quickly. But I want it really dark, and I just thought it would blend well with the rest if it had a little of the blue in it, even if it wasn't super obvious. And you can see over here I'm using my 3-inch square gel plate as a palette. Now, there are two reasons I'm doing this. One is because if you see, I didn't place that sheet very well, or that print very well when I put it down, and so there was a little sliver of the board book that was still showing. And then the other thing that made me decide to go in this direction was actually the idea of this sort of being alien-like. I added a little bit of water, actually a lot, so I'm gonna take it easy, a lot of water to my brush, and now I'm thinning that out here. I want it to blend a little more into the other color. So in thinking about this as maybe an alien figure, the sky seemed to make sense, but this was a dark enough scene that I thought night sky was the best idea. So now I'm just going to blend off some of that watered down color. Soften the edge. It's not perfect, but that's okay. I could go in and I could do more if I wanted, but I'm fine with it that way. And I already know that I want to do some either iridescent paint or ink up here to represent, the idea of stars. Yes, this is pretty literal when I have my little alien shape and then I do sky and stars. And I don't do literal very often, so that's just something that I'm noticing. Well, most of what I do in this art journal is 100% abstract. And today, when I first decided to record and think about sharing this video, here I am doing a far less than abstract, although very silly, alien family, obviously, alien family. And I want to be careful with that to make sure there's enough give. There's baby alien. And this one looked kind of like mama-sized alien. Oh, this is just so silly. Maybe this is because the Christmas holiday just ended and I just came from a few days with my kids, bringing them to my parents. My kids are adults already, but we all went to my parents, and maybe it's just family on the mind. I don't know what it says about my family holiday that now I'm thinking about alien families. Oh no, that happened. Oh. And of course it's Mama Alien that gets destroyed. What kind of commentary is that? Again, we can talk about the holidays. And it's right over that same place where I tore before. Now I'm sad. It's probably not even that noticeable when it dries. This might be when I give a little time out and let that dry and see if it's something that I can live with, or see if that's something that absolutely needs to be repaired. Well, while I had the video off and was letting things dry, I hand cut some little sparkle, twinkle, star shapes, I guess. And I actually took them out of this print and thought the iridescence of the bronze and the lightness of the white would play well as stars. And apparently, I guess we're having an alien Christmas. I guess that's what this is today. And that's fine. Sort of ironic because I am about the most skeptical person you will ever meet about aliens and other life forms, but here we are. I was very random about putting those down. The only thing I wasn't random about was making sure there was an odd number. And since I had 3 aliens, it made sense to me that I would have at least 5 stars or twinkles. They're not very typical star shapes. Okay, and I guess that is mostly going to be the foundation of this layout. I'll probably go back in later and do some doodling on it. Not very much though. The composition works and I don't want to mess with that. But I will go around and clean up the edge. So after a little doodling and thinking about, did I want to actually say anything with this layout in my art journal, here's where we landed. I went full on with the aliens. I gave them little light flashes in their eyes, which deciding where those should go, kind of challenging when there are 3 eyes or the eyes are different shapes. And they needed little antenna. I doodled a little bit with a white jelly roll pen, a white Posca marker, and I thought an appropriate bit of text that I could add, which I don't always do, was simply Peace on Earth 2025. And here we are saying goodbye to 2025. Thank you so much for being here on my maiden voyage on YouTube, on the ship Enola Frost Studio Workshop. It was a really fun way for me to wrap up the year and set an intention, let's say, for 2026.